Okay, we're in St. Augustine today, still, and I'm going to be here for a few days. We're in the National Cemetery, St. Augustine National Cemetery, of course. I started at this end because the most compelling thing about this particular cemetery for me are the monuments we see in the rear behind me there, the pyramids. Let me switch over to those. If I can figure out how to do it. Yeah, I did it. These are the unidentified remains, or these contain the unidentified remains of men who served and passed during the quote-unquote Indian Wars, Seminole Indian Wars, which began in 1835 with the attack on the Indian agent at Fort King in Ocala. Continued on later that day. Well, actually, that was earlier that day. Of the Major Dade and his command. So, what makes this interesting for me is that the people, Major Dade, all those guys who were unidentified, because at the time they were. They laid out for, I think it was 7 weeks, completely exposed to the elements. So they would have been eaten by the buzzards and, you know, everything else for 7 weeks. That's a long time for a body of a mammal to be sitting out, decaying. And in Florida, with the heat and everything else, even though this was February, it still would have been hot. So then the army came, found them, buried them there, and then sometime later they were reinterred here. So by the time they were interred here, they were complete, just bones. I mean, it would have been, you wouldn't have been able to tell anything. They were probably stripped by the Indians of all their garments, anything recognizable. So this is where they lay. This is their final resting place, as we say. The monument, as you see it now, is not exactly what was originally placed here. This is the original monument and the original quote-unquote headstone, but it would have had a sheen over it. It would have been stuccoed. It would have been whitewashed. All this would have been completely one solid sheen, and that's how it would have been seen back in the day when it was first erected. Like I said, this is my favorite part of the cemetery, and that's why I started here. But the entire cemetery has compelling characteristics. And this is, of course, the cemetery, National Cemetery. Anybody who serves their country is eligible to be interred here. To my knowledge, they are no longer interring. Interments are closed at this site because of the limitation of size. If you can see that flagpole, I'm standing at basically one end of the thing, and that's past where that flagpole is actually past where they're interring people. So, or where they did inter people, I should say. So it's closed. There are no more interments. This is a monument sacred to the memory of the officers and soldiers killed in battle and died on service during the Florida War. Now this is the Indian War, like I was saying earlier. The Indian Wars. First, Second, and Third Seminole Indian Wars. So we're going to walk around and see if we can find any distinguished and distinguishable headstones. We have all kinds of World War II, Spanish-American War, the Indian Wars, of course, World War I, World War II, and Civil War. I don't think there's any Vietnam vets in here, but I don't know that for sure. This is pretty interesting compared to some of the others. E.J. Dummett, 1826-1855, honored and beloved, etc. Doesn't say the circumstances in which he passed. May have died on duty, on post, may have just served. Anna Maria Dummett, They're spelling it with an E instead of an I. The Dummets, as we know, were excuse me, very heavy in this area. They're south of here, plantations, things of that nature, businesses. Here's Dummet Hardee. There's a Dummet over here. So this would have been, oh, here's unknown U.S. soldier of Florida Indian Wars. 3 of them. William Scandrett Smith, a native of Virginia and past midshipman of the Navy, who died St. Augustine, 18, geez, I don't know, 59 or 69, maybe even 39. No, I can't tell. Hey, babe. Yeah, I'm doing a live.
Oh, you're live?
We're live and in person.
Good morning.
My sweet. Yeah, me too. We're a long way from food too. There's Brevet's name. Brevet Major General. Jesse Stamps. That's a cool name. Hey, I'm Jesse Stamps. Hey. Henry Good. Here's another unknown soldier of the Indian Wars. Thomas Haynes. So I guess if your family had enough money, you would be buried or interred with a bigger stone than everybody else. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is for that. Requirements are, I should say. But as you can see, by comparison to most other national cemeteries, it's very, very small. Very small. I mean, in fact, it may even be the smallest for all I know. I'd have to research that, but I don't know. First Louisiana Volunteers, USA. Born 1866, died 1898. Died in U.S. Division Hospital. It doesn't say whether he died of his wounds or not. He may have died of sickness. He may have died of wounds. First Louisiana Volunteers, 1898. That sounds like a Spanish War, Spanish-American War. That to me. Henry Snow, Florida Infantry. 1971. 1880 to 1971. First Sergeant, Company G, 1st Florida Infantry. Wow. That must be... Oh, that must be Spanish American too. I don't know. It was either after Spanish American War or World War I where you quit being distinguished by the state that you came from. Everybody was just sort of thrown in together. It was a World War II. They were absolutely thrown in together. Alright, so the rest of it is pretty much smaller, all same size stones. Here's the caretaker's residence. And there's I forget what that is for, but I'm going to go over and check that out in a minute. I want to go over and look at these signs real quick. Cemeteries. Let's see. Major Dade and his command. reinterred here. Okay, so in 1842 they were reinterred here. So 7 weeks in the sun and the weather, another 7 years being buried on the battlefield near Bushnell. They were reinterred here. So yeah, pretty much there wasn't anything left of them by then. A national cemetery system. This explains the system. St. Augustine National Cemetery, 1875. Reclassified as a national cemetery. So in 1881, Quartermaster Montgomery Meigs, he was still quartermaster. He was the quartermaster during the war, Civil War, and he was the one who started the whole thing. Florida War Monuments. I'd like to know how big this is compared to all the other ones. I think it's probably smaller than the others. Alright, we're gonna go check this out. I've been on this before, but I forget exactly what it is. I think it's like a rostrum. I think there was some dedication done here or something, but I imagine there's some sort of... No, there isn't a plaque up here. Clearly some sort of podium of some kind. So maybe I'm wrong about interment, because there's still space here. Maybe if you meet some sort of special qualification, connection to St. Augustine, you can be interred here. Because there obviously is room right here, and there's remains interred here. So anyway, it's a really cool spot. There isn't anything much more than this. I mean, there's streets all around. We're completely surrounded by houses. There's no more property to buy up. So I'm going to shut this down for now.